All right, welcome back. Powers on Sports Podcast. Appreciate you finding us. Remember, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, you can find us on Twitter at JPO Sports or X or whatever we're calling it these days. Love to hear your comments and your feedback about anything we're doing or not doing. But now to our guest for the week. We are pleased to bring back a regular here on the podcast, a person you all know very well from here in the Tampa Bay area, Bucs sideline reporter for the Buccaneer Radio Network, also the host of the Three Dog Thursday podcast, does play-by-play for Compass Media and all things. Got some boxing. Well, I'll ask him a boxing question. We got a boxing card that got put together in the last couple of days. Mr. Rives, welcome back.
Hey, it's always good to be with you, and you always roll call all of my different ventures and outlets, and I have probably too many hats, like I keep saying to you, but it's better than not enough hats.
Yeah.
So whatever avenues you want to travel, I'm here for you, my friend.
What does a Thanksgiving in the Rives family outing look like this time next Thursday?
That is a valid question. So there will be plenty of bird and sides consumed. My understanding is it is my mother-in-law's home game. We will be visitors for my mother-in-law's home game and headed there. I'm not sure what, if any, role we have in preparation for that. I make a killer broccoli casserole. I believe I have shared this with you in the past because it is idiot proof. It is crushed up Ritz crackers, melted butter, Velveeta cheese, and broccoli. And it's not hard to make, and you bake it in the oven on like 400 for about 30 minutes. Pretty idiot proof.
That is usually next job will be on the Food Network. We'll be doing a Thanksgiving meal on the Food Network.
We should, because that's pretty idiot proof right there. That could be your contribution. You can even use green beans as a substitute for broccoli if you don't like broccoli on the casserole. But yes, plenty of food consumed, plenty of football. And, the one thing I would say, and you say this also, get together with the family and the friends, but also think about those that maybe are less fortunate. Give when you can give of time, give of resources this time of year, because there's a lot of people that don't have money, don't have food, and we just gorge ourselves. So there's your public service announcement to begin things here on the conversation.
Yeah, so that's good to hear. Good to hear. I know you guys are got a good little family here in the Tampa Bay area. I know you guys commute from place to place in different spots, and so I'm sure you'll have a great time coming back.
Yeah, there we go.
Post San Francisco trip. I know you're going to San Fran this weekend with the Buccaneers. Nice little cross-country trip. Was that a Friday or Saturday departure?
So that is actually interesting. Off the win over Tennessee, we're going to go out there on Saturday this go around with Todd Bowles in charge. He was in charge a year ago when we went out there on a Friday with Tom Brady and company, and the game was awful for the most part.
That's smoke.
So there was not much correlation to being out there earlier and getting acclimated. And the Bucs have done this before on a couple of other occasions, including going out to play Oakland back a decade ago, the day before the game, and played very well. That's a game where Doug Martin set the single game rushing record. That was traveling the day before. And there have been a couple of other occasions where they've gone to once to Phoenix. And I want to say that didn't work out. But there was another one. I want to say we went to San Diego, and it did work out on just the day before. So we'll see. I mean, there's different theories on that. Some teams from the West Coast come in on Friday to the East. Some of them come the day before, and it varies. It is a long trip. I mean, it's going to be about a 5.5 or 6 hour flight from Tampa into the San Francisco Bay Area, and then we'll see what this looks like on Sunday. I keep saying in all of these conversations as the week builds on here, Mr. Powers, that I kind of like the puncher's chance that the Bucs have. I like the fact that San Francisco blew out Jacksonville last week.
Right.
The fact that they rolled the Bucs a year ago, that to me makes them, I think, want to exhale a little bit and say this is no big deal to be playing this team. So maybe the Buccaneers catch them, hang in. I don't know what realistic chance they have to win, but if they play smart, they don't turn it over, I think there's a real opportunity to hang into this game.
All right, so let's start on the NFL side. I think we're right at the halfway point of the year, getting ready to go to the start of the second half of the season. Basically, give me a mid-season surprise or two from around the league that's really caught your eye, or just a storyline that you think will be interesting to me. You look at backup quarterbacks that are having to play. A ton of young backup quarterbacks. We saw the news early this week with Deshaun Watson now out. They're going with DTR over the veteran PJ Walker for the time being. You've seen rookies galore around the league playing. You've seen the rise of CJ Stroud. You saw him in person a couple of weeks ago. Just give me a thought or two about a storyline that's caught your attention the first half of the year.
Well, and I mean, can I cop out and just say, how long do we have? Because there's so many different intriguing ones. How in the world has Minnesota held it together with the injury to Kirk Cousins, and they go grab Josh Dobbs in a trade, and Dobbs doesn't even know guys' names in the game with Atlanta, and they're finding a way to win that one, and then they validate it by winning again last week. They've won 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
That Buccaneer opening week win over Minnesota, not looking so bad right about now. So
and
they've been a very interesting story.
without Justin Jefferson too.
That's correct. It's amazing what they've done. Again, there are 3 or 4 other situations. Cleveland has been a surprise. They beat San Francisco. They came roaring back to beat a very good Baltimore team last week, and now Deshaun Watson's hurt. This is any given week right now, almost a week-to-week league on what's going to happen. So it's fascinating to watch this unfold, and nothing is promised to you. I mean, the New York Giants made the playoffs a year ago, had so much optimism. They are horrendous. Daniel Jones is hurt for the year. They look like they're tanking at this point. So you don't know what to make of it. But you're right. The Stroud storyline is tremendous. So far, he's played so much better than Bryce Young, the Alabama number 1 pick of Carolina. So, yeah, you've got so many different interesting, intriguing stories right now on different teams and how and why they're succeeding. Suddenly, Denver's come around and won 2 or 3 games when they looked awful. The New England Patriots, we have lived long enough to see that the Hall of Fame legacy of Bill Belichick is currently being tarnished by how awful New England looks, especially without Tom Brady right now. It's a wild year in the NFL. There's no doubt.
And you have, and maybe the biggest surprise might be what's going up north where you were at not too long ago on a Thursday night up in Buffalo. The absolute meltdown that's going on up there. They fire the OC when it's not the OC's fault on Monday night when you got 12 guys on the field for the field goal. There's been some internal strife from what it sounds like between Diggs and the OC, and who knows what else is going on. What do you make out of Buffalo? A real chance that they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and they looked like when we saw them on the Thursday night, every bit the part of maybe an AFC East champion and a playoff contender. And now you have a couple of games where, again, it looks shaky for them. They're now 5-5. They fired the offensive coordinator. Sean McDermott is embattled a bit. There are a bunch of people in Buffalo saying, is he the right guy to take this situation to the next level or not? So you got that one that's been a little bit weird. Again, this San Francisco team that we're getting ready to go see, everybody anointed them. Remember when they destroyed the Dallas Cowboys about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? It was looking like, okay, San Francisco and Philadelphia battling again, and maybe the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. Well, then they turn around and lose 3 games in a row, including losing to Minnesota on Monday Night Football. And then Cincinnati came in there and beat them. So they're not invincible either right now. So it's very interesting how this ebbs and flows. And Buffalo right now, to your point, is struggling in this part. They've got to find a way to snap out of it in a battle with the Dolphins, specifically in that division race.
And they got a brutal schedule down the stretch. They got a lot of hard games down the stretch. Give me a thought or two on probably the biggest game of the year to date, Monday night in Kansas City. Got both teams off a bye, Philly and Kansas City. Philly winning games, but not looking as pretty as they did last year. Kansas City winning a different way as they're used to, much more defensive oriented, a lot less high flying offense. Give me a thought or two on those two teams and at kind of the top of both of those conferences.
And, of course, we saw Philadelphia. I saw them at field level on Monday Night Football here. They're the real deal. They're improved over the last couple of years. Jalen Hurts, his composure, his ability to throw the ball, their defense, physical offensive line. I'm not saying they're invincible, but they look like the best team in the NFC. And then with Mahomes and the Chiefs, yes, the record is really good. but so much of this year, he has just been at times off, even in victory.
Yeah.
Yes, they're succeeding. A lot of it is kind of nonchalant. Like, they waste this drive, they waste this possession and another possession and another drive, and you can't always get away with that. They certainly got humbled by Denver in the game in Denver a couple of weeks ago before their Germany game.
Yeah.
It was a real reality check on you can't just mail it in. You can't just show up and think that the other team's going to fall over. So that should have been a wake-up call, but I'm with you. This is going to be a tremendous game. It's a Super Bowl matchup a year ago, Chiefs and Eagles. And both teams will now test the other, I guess, on how far are they ahead of the rest of the NFC or the AFC. How does this game look on Monday night? I'm very intrigued.
Last NFL question, and we'll move to something. We'll move to. I got a boxing question for you. Let's talk about the TV schedule. I know you and I are big fans of how they market the TV games and all. Are you surprised that the NFL is getting stuck in some situations where you and I were together Sunday night and it's 49-7 in Dallas, and they're still staying on the Dallas Giants game at 4:00 on Fox? You got a Friday Amazon game on Black Friday coming up next Friday. Dolphins and Jets, I believe.
We've had
the Germany games at 9:30 in the morning. Just give me a thought or two on the media schedule of how the NFL schedules these games out.
And again, they're the Godzilla, and we got to keep this in mind that when you're talking about NFL TV ratings, they have right now about 7 or 8 times the audience of anything else that's on network TV. It is the king, and it is the king by a long, long stretch. So that being said, you had the Cowboys and Giants playing Sunday, and the joke that we had is, why is America being subjected to this when it's been a 4-touchdown game for a couple of hours? That's what we were talking about on the sports media podcast that you were a guest with me on earlier in the week. Well, the rating is in, and the rating for Sunday afternoon is the lowest rated late window all year long. Not surprising. 21 million. Okay, 21 million is a massive number. Primetime TV shows right now are getting like 3 million, 4 million. Right. So 21 million is a massive number at 4:00 on Sunday. But contemplate a year ago, that was the Cowboys in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers in a competitive game that had nearly 30 million watching. Right. 9 million less for that blowout game. So you got to have better teams and better games. And so this is where the flex scheduling will come in here over the next few weeks. And interesting, they not only can flex a Sunday night game, if they want, starting now this year, they can flex a Monday night game out of Monday night and say to somebody else playing Sunday, you're now playing Monday night. They can do that up to 2 times. The likelihood is they will only do it once if they do it once. And let's stay tuned and see. And I believe they have to give 28 days notice. So the Monday night flex.
That's for the Thursday nighter. If they move a team out into Thursday night, they have to give them a month notice.
I don't see them flexing a Thursday night game out of Thursday night right now. It's not that big a deal, but you could see a Monday night game because there's a couple of bad ones at the end of the year that may come out. That may come out of the Monday night slot. You're now playing Sunday, and somebody else that's thinking they're playing at 1:00 Sunday. Hey, you're now playing on Monday night. So good luck with your travel and your travel arrangements because you're supposed to be checked out of the hotel, by the way, on Sunday afternoon while you're playing the game.
And for the fans.
Yes, another nightmare.
Screwing the fans.
And believe me, there are owners of teams that spoke up about this and said, we're objecting to this because we have thousands of fans that travel to our road games, and now you're screwing their travel plans where the airlines have no mercy on – you're not getting out of your flight. You're going to pay a penalty, and the hotel may be booked or not booked for the extra night. You're screwing stuff up by moving nights. It's one thing to move the game from a day game on Sunday to a night game or vice versa for Sunday Night Football, but moving it by a day is crazy. So you're right. On these primetime games, they want the best matchup and the best audience, and let's see if they flex some of it.
All right, before we get to college football, I got a boxing one for you. I saw a few days ago, we saw a card get put together. It looks like it's in Saudi Arabia. You got Fury fighting. We got Wilder fighting. They're not fighting each other, separate fights. Give us a little rundown of that card and why Saudi Arabia and why are they not fighting each other?
Simply money flowing like the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. And that's the reason why they can have this kind of a card that's going to literally have about 6 or 7 main event type fights on the same card. And again, Anthony Joshua is the British star, the former unified champion. He's fighting on this card. Deontay Wilder's the American from Alabama, who, by the way, wanted to be an Alabama Crimson Tide football player, but had skill in boxing, a thunderous right hand, and has had quite an accomplished boxing career. Boxing not as mainstream anymore when you and I grew up with Mike Tyson, with Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, and all of what we grew up with, Larry Holmes, the end of
Oscar
Muhammad
De La
Ali,
Hoya and those
Oscar
guys.
De La Hoya in the modern day, Floyd Mayweather. It's not as mainstream anymore, but that'll be a very interesting card 2 days before Christmas in our world in Saudi Arabia, because it's got title fights, it's got the big heavyweight. So that was just announced, and there'll be a lot of buildup over the next 6 weeks for that fight card. We shall see.
All right, let's go to college football. A couple things, and we'll get you out of here. Let's talk about give me a thought on Jim Harbaugh. The big restraining order hearing is coming up Friday up in Michigan. Do you think he gets the restraining order this week? Does it get pushed to next week? Does he not get it at all? Give me a thought on your and do you think he's guilty as sin for what he's being accused of?
Okay, let's start with the second part first. Absolutely, yes. I am so over it on the defenses of, well, everybody's doing it. No, everybody's not doing it to this extent. This is ridiculous, over the top cheating that not everybody else is doing. It's cheating because it's clearly defined by the Big Ten. You're not allowed to advance scout, much less be videotaping the opposing sideline. And they were doing this not just occasionally, but with every opponent they were playing. They had a system in place where they're going all over all of this. They've got a spreadsheet with all the hand signals matched up to plays to what they are. They've got the guy involved standing right next to the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator, calling out to them exactly what the play is about to be on both sides of the ball. It's amazing that Michigan's gotten scored on at all when this has happened this year. It's no coincidence now that they are 25-1 in their last 26 games overall since all this began to happen. Harbaugh was an okay coach in the Big Ten who's now turned into a Superman, a superhero, superhuman coach at 26-1 in the last 27 games. He lost 16 Big Ten games in his first 7 years as the coach at Michigan. He's 26-1. He's lost one Big Ten game the last 3 seasons to this point. So it's absolutely cheating. They should absolutely be punished. Now, what is this judge going to do? More than likely, it's a female judge who's a Michigan law grad. She's been studying this for a week. She's more than likely going to let him coach against Maryland and against Ohio State. Ohio State's the big one at home. Again, you brought up a great point. What is the real punishment here if he's allowed to coach practice during the week? He's allowed to be around the team. It's 6 days and 21 hours, as you said. He's allowed to be the coach before the game and right after the game. So how much of a punishment is it? I think Tony Petitti in the conference office was trying to do something. Remember, he's the first-year commissioner, Jason, trying to do something here.
Coming from the sports media world.
That's right.
The sports media world.
And how wild, as our colleague Matt Zimick pointed out on another podcast, how wild if he's on the stage for the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis, handing the trophy to Jim Harbaugh at the end of all of this. So stay tuned.
And with Jim Harbaugh knowing the moment they lose or win the national title, he'll be an NFL head coach within 48 hours probably.
Probably so. But so many different subplots. I think it'd be a great upset if the judge does not grant the restraining order. What does the Big Ten do after that? Did they appeal immediately and try to keep him out of the Ohio State game? Would they then take another step, just one hypothetical real quick, and then I know you want to move on, of if the restraining order affects the Maryland game, do they come right back and say, we said 3-game suspension, so that means the Ohio State game and potentially the Big Ten title game now? Because if they were to win on appeal, let's say, and get that hurt, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. It doesn't lack for drama, but they are not victims in this. There is no sympathy outside of Ann Arbor and their fans and their fan base. They're not victims. They have been blatantly cheating in this. And Harbaugh has been intimately involved because in all of the game plans and in all the coordination, he has to know The guy is standing. I'm going on and on in the soapbox. You gotta stop me in a second.
Good, go.
The guy, Connor Stallions, is standing right by him in the Michigan State game, and it's on video of him telling Jim Harbaugh when the signal comes in, that's pressure. That's the blitz. That's pressure. He's telling Harbaugh. This crap, and it's crap about he has no knowledge of it. Please, I'll sell you some mountain property in Miami. Come see me.
And what a joke is with the interim coach crying on Fox after the post game interview.
Yeah, I don't
asked him a question about the scenario, and he just starts bawling, tearing.
When history looks back on all of this, they are going to say blatantly cheating. That's how it's going to be judged. That's how it should be judged.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, let's get to Florida State down in this neck of the woods. The rankings came out. Obviously, Georgia jumped ahead of Ohio State for the week to 1, 2, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Florida State 4. Most people think Florida State is the most vulnerable team. Even if they go undefeated, they could potentially get left out. Do you think a 12-0 Florida State, if they run the table, North Alabama, Florida, and most likely Louisville, do you think they get left out if they go undefeated?
No chance. I'm with the win out of conference against LSU, the strength of a couple of their other wins. Again, the win at Florida, Clemson at home, and then an ACC title game on a neutral field against a Louisville team that theoretically is ranked in the top 10 when they beat them is more than enough to get them in. And obviously Michigan and Ohio State have to play, and then somebody has a loss at the end of the rainbow. So then if you have 3 unbeatens left, hypothetically Georgia, Florida State, Washington, they're all going to be in as unbeatens. There's no way if Florida State is unbeaten that they're being left out. Now, the question becomes, let's say they get to the end and they lose close to Louisville and they have 1 loss.
I think they're out.
There's a couple of others with 1 loss. Do the Noles get left out then? It's going to be a very nervous time, for sure.
And then you have a scenario where Georgia, Florida State, Washington are all 12-0, and you could have all the marbles on the line in Atlanta between Alabama and – I'm sorry, not Georgia. Ohio State, Michigan winner, Florida State, Washington undefeated. You could have a winner-take-all game in Atlanta potentially where if Georgia loses, they're out. If Alabama wins, they still might not be in because of if Texas were to win, then you have to evaluate the head-to-head with Texas and Alabama. You could have a little drama on Championship Saturday starting in Atlanta between Alabama and Georgia potentially.
Well, and just to the point, this is what you want. If you're the college football playoff, you want this. And I have been saying this for a year. I will continue to say this. I will hit everybody between the eyes with a 2x4 that wants to argue on this. You destroy what we're talking about right now with a 12-team playoff because they're all in a 12-team playoff. It just matters where you're playing.
And you're fighting about if Missouri's in as the 12 seed. Who cares?
But you're all in.
Right
now, you're on a high wire on who are the 4, and there are going to be 2 or 3 left out of the mix of Oregon, Alabama, Texas that all have 1 loss that can't all get in, and whoever loses Ohio State, Michigan, you can't take everybody. You are destroying that with a 12-team playoff because all of those teams, right now it's Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Alabama, Texas. Those 8 teams would all be in a 12-team playoff. So it's not the same. It's not going to be the same because of the greed and wanting more playoff games and wanting more money of it. I love how it is right now because the battle to get those 4 spots is what the end of the regular season is all about. There you go.
No doubt. Last thing I can chat, a coaching carousel. Obviously, we saw Jimbo is what's the line from Die Hard? Sitting on a beach collecting 20%.
I think so. What is it? Hans does say to Holly Gennaro, I'm an exceptional thief. It's almost like that. $76 million to go away, guaranteed, with no offset language for taking another job, which he will, whether he does for 2024 or a subsequent season. It is mind-numbing, the stupidity of the presidents and the board members and the people that sign off, the ADs that sign off on these deals.
These extensions.
It's just crazy. But, I mean, you've got A&M open. You got Mississippi State open. You got Boise State open. You're going to maybe see the Florida job open, maybe UCLA. Does West Virginia make the move on Neil Brown because they can get Jimbo Fisher while he's being paid by Texas A&M to come coach them? This is going to be
Arkansas potentially. You got
yes,
Arkansas. I
a
mean,
wild coaching carousel. What happens if Lincoln Riley decides he wants to be in the NFL instead of coaching in the Big
right?
Ten at Southern Cal, which, by the way, he didn't sign up for going to USC to be playing Rutgers and Maryland and Minnesota and Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So does Lincoln Riley vacate the USC job? We shall see. We shall see. This carousel is going to be crazy in December.
You and I are close to the Florida situation. If Florida loses 5 in a row to end the year, and if they get blown out by Missouri and Florida State potentially, you've already been blown out by Georgia and LSU. Do you sense big problems for Billy Napier?
Yes. I think he is coaching for his job these next couple of weeks on how they look. I could absolutely see them making the move. My understanding, it's not a massive buyout either. Right. It's not a massive contract. And they should, they will take the approach of, we need a bigger name, proven coach. We went the Louisiana route, the Sun Belt route. We need a bigger name. We need a hotter, bigger name somehow, some way to come get Florida to be Florida again. We'll see. We'll see what the Gators do.
All right, TJ Rives, Buccaneer Radio. Tell all the fans, if they're not in the Tampa Bay area, where they can find the Buccaneer broadcast on Sunday with Eugene and Dave on the call nationwide.
That's great stuff that we're headed out there. Again, if you have Sirius XM, if you have NFL Plus from their mobile app, you can hear it. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, 98 Rock on the radio or on the Buccaneers mobile app. That's also good in the region, including Orlando and Central Florida. You can hear things on the Buccaneers mobile app as well as Buccaneers.com streaming the game. Any of the radio affiliates in and around the state of Florida will be on the air at 3 Eastern, 4 o'clock kick. Let's see if the Buccaneers hang in with the 49ers. Everybody's going to talk all weekend about how San Francisco's rolling in this game. I kind of like that. Just you get a puncher's chance to hang in with everybody counting you out. Let's see if the Bucs can do that this go around here.
And Brother Rives, I know you always like to know this, so I'll give the fans an update on this too. Round 2 Florida high school playoffs Friday night. I'll be in Venice, Florida, which is about an hour or so south of Tampa, kind of the Manatee, Sarasota area. Venice High School, who is a power in high school football here in Florida, against Immokalee. And you say, what's Immokalee? Immokalee is famous for Edger and James and those guys, and the famous bunny chasers. That's something they do down there growing up. Those kids run through the sugarcane fields chasing bunnies for money. Like they catch the bunnies.
You develop some agility, some coordination with being able to do that. Yes. So you're working the state playoffs as a high school official. Good for you. I love that. I'm headed off to the West Coast, where the Bucs haven't had a tremendous amount of success. They did win in 2016 in this stadium. Dirk Cutter, Jameis Winston, Levante David on that team, by the way. Mike Evans on that team, by the way. Let's see how it looks for this go-around 2023 version. Again, the 49ers embarrassed this team a year ago. Let's see what happens with Bucs and 49ers. Thank you for having me, my friend.
And I know the Twins make their JV basketball debut coming up here in a couple of days as well, right?
My 15-year-old sophomores on the JV high school basketball team will have details to follow at a later date.
All right, TJ, appreciate it. Buck Sideline Guy on Twitter, X. Follow him. He does great stuff, does all kind of great stuff throughout the week, all over the place. Keep it up, and keep it up. Have a happy Thanksgiving, sir.
You too, my friend. Thank you. Keep up the great work yourself.
All right, we'll see you next time. Powers on Sports Podcast.